Hey guys, welcome to your sixth AS3 tutorial. Today we're going to be taking a look at arrays. This is going to be a two-part lesson. Today we're going to work with arrays, and in the next tutorial we're going to work with loops, and they kind of go hand in hand a lot. Loops are a really good way to work with arrays. So next week we're going to be taking well, not next week, next video we'll be taking even more of a look at arrays while we're working with the loops. So we're going to delete everything that we did from the last tutorial, and we're going to create a private var a array, just because I don't know what we call this. We can also get rid of all these imports, I think. Actually, there's a flash develop built-in thing that if you right-click anywhere on here, refactor, you can do truncate imports, and it'll take out any that you don't need. And what it actually did was it changed it to the wildcard. So it didn't need this, it didn't need this, and it didn't need this, but it did need sprite. But let's say that we use shape in the future. If we have this wildcard here, it's called the wild character, wildcard. There's a few different names. It basically does every single class that's inside of display. So sprite, all of these, because there's a lot. Is that a bit overkill? Sometimes. But typically, when you're just starting out, it's not a biggie. So let's get working. So arrays are a class. They work differently than like a data type that would be integer, number, boolean, etc. You have to instantiate the array, and that's a bit of a big word. Instantiate means that you need to create an instance of it, which isn't becoming any clearer. Okay, the way that you create instances of something. All right, so like, for example, array is a class, okay, and it's just a class. If you want to create an instance of that class, as in create something that is of the array type, you have to use the new keyword. Okay, new is built into most programming languages, and you do new array. Now this would instantiate a new array object or instance. Slightly different in the terminology, but we're not really going to worry about that right now. An instance is an object. Yeah, okay. So we also need to make sure that we assign it to our variable a that we did up here. So we're going to use this array quick, and then we're going to try using it without calling new and see what happens. So if you trace a, we wait for it to build. This is the first time I built it today. You'll see that you get nothing because we don't have anything in this array yet. Okay, now when you create new instances of a class, typically you can plug in values right here. So we can put our array right in here. So now it's probably time for me to fully explain what an array is. An array is a variable that can hold variables. So it's kind of like a box, and each variable would be, I'm getting emails, each variable would be like a little block, so you can put the blocks in the boxes until the box is full. So let's just create a really simple array. I'm going to put in 0 to 5, and if we trace it, you'll see that it's 0 to 5. Okay, so now what we can do is we can also get a single number from it. So we're going to change these from numbers just because we're going to be working with a lot of numbers here and it can get confusing. We're going to do first, second, taco. Okay, so if you want to get a single element, it's called, from this array, let's say we're going to get second, okay, you use the subscript, it's called subscript, and it's the square brackets on your keyboard, okay? And then you plug in a number, which we're going to plug in 1, and then you close the square brackets. So that's how you would get a single element. And now with 1, you're going to think that it's going to be first, but it's actually the second one. This is 0, this is 1, and this is 2, even though the size of the array is 3. Okay? Now, you can do the same thing by assigning stuff. So if you wanted to rename second to second, like in all caps, you can just do subscript 1 of array A and set it to the string second in all caps. And when you trace it, that'll show it. And we can also just trace the entire array, and it'll show that it was actually changed. So, in case you're wondering when this might be useful, let's say that you're creating a level in your game. You could create either a one-dimensional or a two-dimensional array. We'll look into two-dimensional arrays later on. They get kind of nasty. I mean, like, if, just for example, this would be accessing an element in a two-dimensional array. So, and then there's also three-dimensional. Really, there's any amount of dimensional that you can want, but you never really go past three-dimensional when you're doing games. So, where was I going with this? I got distracted by two-dimensional. But yeah, so let's just continue on working with the simple stuff. So now what we could do is we could take that away, and do the same thing like this. A3, not 3, 2 is equal to taco, and what will happen? It'll be just fine. ActionScript is really cool in the way that you can just create an empty array and fill it in as you go. Now, what happens if you wanted to use a string here? Let's say we'll do string 2. Okay? It still works. Okay? ActionScript has a super loose array class, which is very, very useful. You can implement strings. So you could, let's say that we rename A, so you can actually right-click, refactor, rename, and we will call it players. Okay, so we could have player, let's think, what's a popular game? Let's do Mario. Okay, and we actually let's rename this to player colors. Sorry, player colors. Okay, so Mario, he's red. Luigio, yep. Luigi. Actually, how do you spell Luigi? Luigi? Yeah, there we go. He's green. Okay, and then let's do Wario, who's purple. Okay, and this will work. Maybe. Why didn't it work? Okay, it didn't trace anything, which is interesting. I think we're learning something new here. Okay, so it still does work. So maybe if I do player colors sub-0 is equal to, we'll plug in null. Is equal to 1? 1. Okay. So it seems if you want to trace an array, it's only going to go by the index. And I'm not exactly sure, but I'm guessing that's because the computer wants to go through the numbers rather than the strings, because it doesn't necessarily know those off the top of its head. But there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. If you wanted to do a two-dimensional array, there's multiple things you could do. You could also do an array of arrays, which is different than a two-dimensional array. So we could say that Mario, or let's change this back to players. Edit. All right, this is gonna get a bit crazy. So we are going to take out Mario, do 0, 1, and 2, And then we're going to create a new array inside of here with Mario and red. Okay. Oops. Luigi. I really hope I'm spelling this right. I've never typed Luigi's name before, and it just looks weird to me. Wario. Okay, so now if we trace it, we're gonna see that it just traces it like this. But if we were to do players 0, you see that you get Mario in red, and then you could do player sub-0 to get Mario, and player sub-0 sub-1 to get red. So there's all sorts of cool stuff that you can do with arrays, and this allows you to organize your data in really efficient ways. Well, yeah, it's kind of efficient. Arrays can be slow at times, but it's effective, it works, and that's about it. I'm shrugging through my head to see if there's any more little array things that I can splurt out before next week's episode. Next week. The next tutorial. I'm so used to doing the radio. So yeah, we have taken a look at arrays, and next week we are going to be taking a look at loops. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will catch you next time.